This short lecture will help you to reimagine your occupational therapy client as a community, and we'll do this using the Community-Centred Practice Framework, which was developed through research with me, Dr. Nerida Hyatt, as well as Professor Amanda Kenny and Dr. Virginia Dixon-Swift. So imagine this. You're an occupational therapist working in a community-based substance misuse service. You see a caseload of about up to 30 adolescents who present with really similar substance misuse issues and health risks and harms. So seeing the pattern of issues within the community, you realise that a proportion of the problems experienced by young people are caused by community-level social, cultural, political, economic and environmental determinants. So you decide to partner with local young people, schools, sports clubs, businesses and organisations to explore and assess community-level issues and barriers and to develop community-level occupational goals and strategies for intervention that can be implemented in collaboration with them. So this is one example of a community-centred practice approach that could be applied to a population health issue. The Community-Centred Practice Framework was developed through research. This research was done through qualitative case study methodology and involved a multiple case analysis. You can find out more about this research and the 2 case studies that were conducted by looking up the reference at the end of this presentation. This is the Community-Centred Practice Framework. It has 4 components that will help you to utilise theory in your practice and to understand how to apply a community-centred practice approach to your population health project. Now I'll talk you through each of the 4 components. The first component supports occupational therapists to question, who is the community? In this part of the framework, it's important that you try to understand the community identity, which is defined as a social field encompassing different social actors, including people, groups, networks, organisations and businesses. A community is also defined by place and also by setting, and it's important that you explore all components of this to understand community identity. The second component encourages occupational therapists to question what occupations are important to the community and what joint action is taken by community members towards their shared occupational goals. So you should consider what occupations are performed by the community and how does the community participate in occupations together, and how do different community members contribute to the occupations that are performed. And you should consider the diversity within the community and consider the different roles, skills, values, experiences and expertise that different people, groups, networks, different social actors bring to those occupations. In the third component, occupational therapists are encouraged to question what resources are needed by the community and what barriers prevent them from participating in their shared occupations. It is important that you audit the resources with both economic and non-economic value. Non-economic resources might include cultural identity or cultural traditions. It is important that you support a process of power redistribution, which means you support the community to access the different resources that they need to participate. The community will identify these. These might include things like information and education or equipment. In the fourth component, the questions to be asked include what processes are used for community participation and what is my enablement role as an occupational therapist. So this process will enable you to select and utilise different enabling strategies in collaboration with the community to help them to achieve their occupational goal. And you should consider the range of strategies that are available to you to provide with the community, and they should identify which enabling strategies they need to help them to achieve their goals. This might include advocacy, it might include consultation, it might include design. There's a whole range of things that you could offer for the community to help them to achieve their goal. Now let's talk through an example of how you might apply the community-centred practice framework to your population health project. So in the first component, community identity, you would scope community identity, including social actors, place and contextual setting. You would find out who is involved with the community in terms of the people, groups, networks, businesses and organisations. In the second component, community occupations, you might consult with different community members to identify and explore the community occupations that they perform and participate in, and to identify their community's occupational goals. In the third component, community resources and barriers, you might discuss barriers to occupational participation with community and explore ways to overcome them in collaboration with different community members. You would identify economic and non-economic resources that are required by the community to participate in their occupation of choice. In the fourth component, participation enablement, you might negotiate with the community to identify which strategies could be used to improve their occupational participation and to help them achieve the community's occupational goals. Some final implications for your project placement. You can use the community-centred practice framework to help you to utilise occupational perspectives in the development and implementation of your project. The proposed conceptual framework can improve your understanding of community as client and utilisation of an occupation-based community-centred practice approach. The framework should be used as a conceptual guide for community-centred approach, and you can use other complementary strategies, models or frameworks depending on your project topic and the context that you're doing the project in. Here's a range of references that were used in this presentation and to develop the model, ones that you might find useful for some further reading. Thank you for listening.